You might have found yourself scrolling through endless videos, caught in a world that feels thrilling, raw, and irresistible. The flickering screen, the polished scenes, the perfect bodies, they promise an escape, an adventure into desire that's pure and uncomplicated. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what if this world is a carefully crafted illusion? What if these fantasies, so vivid and compelling, are quietly reshaping how you see intimacy, connection, and even love? Most people assume that the line between pornography and reality is clear, that what we watch on screen is just entertainment, a fantasy separate from our real lives. Yet how often do those images sneak into our minds, coloring our expectations and dictating what we think desire should look like? How much of your understanding of passion and connection is borrowed from a world designed for performance, not genuine feeling? Consider this. The very fantasies that excite, you might be quietly undermining your ability to connect authentically with a partner. When desire is filtered through unrealistic scripts and exaggerated acts, the heart's subtle languages, vulnerability, tenderness, hesitation, get drowned out. You may find yourself chasing scenes that never feel quite real, or worse, judging yourself and your partner when the rawness of actual intimacy doesn't match the heightened spectacle. This isn't about shame or guilt. It's about awareness, about peeling back the layers of performance to rediscover what intimacy truly means beneath the gloss. What if the disconnect you feel after sex, or the frustration in relationships, isn't because something is wrong with you or your partner, but because the blueprint you've been following was never meant for real love? As you watch this, think about your own experiences. Are your desires shaped by connection and presence, or by scenes scripted for fantasy? Do you recognize the difference? Or has the fantasy world quietly rewritten your inner dialogue about love and sex? In the chapters ahead, we will explore how pornography rewires desire, how it distorts connection, and most importantly, how to reclaim intimacy from beneath the layers of fantasy. This journey isn't easy. It challenges deeply held beliefs and requires honesty with yourself. But the reward is profound. A more authentic, richer experience of love, desire, and connection. Ready to confront these hidden truths? Let's dive deeper. Behind the alluring images and polished performances lies a complex web of psychological and neurological mechanisms that quietly shape how pornography influences our brains and emotions. This influence is rarely obvious. It happens beneath the surface, rewiring our expectations and desires without us fully realizing it. Our brains are wired to seek reward and pleasure, releasing dopamine in moments of excitement and anticipation. Pornography hijacks this system with rapid-fire scenes, exaggerated stimulation, and impossible scenarios, training our minds to crave novelty and intensity over the slow, messy, unpredictable reality of human connection. The brain starts to associate intimacy not with warmth or vulnerability, but with spectacle and performance. This rewiring affects how we perceive real relationships. When your mental image of sex is filled with flawless bodies, constant climax, and unrelenting passion, everyday intimacy can feel underwhelming. Normal rhythms, the pauses, the hesitations, the simple touches, become invisible or disappointing by comparison. Your expectations shift from connection toward consumption, making it harder to truly be present with your partner. But it's not just the neurological effect. Culturally, pornography has normalized narrow, often stereotypical scripts about gender, desire, and power dynamics. Men are portrayed as always ready, always dominant. Women as always available, always eager. These portrayals create a silent pressure to perform, to embody roles, rather than explore authentic mutual desire. This disconnect between script and reality breeds frustration and confusion. Even more subtly, pornography encourages a voyeuristic stance, watching, observing, and objectifying rather than participating fully and vulnerably. This stance can spill over into real life, making it harder to express genuine emotions or listen deeply to a partner's needs and boundaries. Intimacy requires presence and empathy, qualities dulled when desire is shaped by performance rather than connection. Understanding these hidden dynamics is crucial because it reveals that the problem isn't just too much porn or bad habits. It's a deeper misalignment between fantasy-driven desire and the rich, complex nature of real human connection. Recognizing this gap is the first step toward reclaiming intimacy on your own terms. As we continue, we'll explore the true consequences of this distortion, how it ripples into our relationships, self-esteem, and emotional well-being. But first, take a moment. How often do you notice these invisible influences shaping your feelings about sex and connection? Are you aware of the scripts you might be unconsciously following? The impact of distorted fantasies doesn't stop at just shaping your desires. It runs deeper, touching every layer of your intimate life. When what you expect from sex is borrowed from a fantasy world, the real experiences often feel insufficient, awkward, or disappointing. This mismatch breeds frustration, resentment, and a growing sense of emotional distance between partners. Imagine this. You enter the bedroom hoping for a passionate, flawless encounter like the ones you've seen on screen. But real intimacy is rarely a perfect performance. It's messy, uncertain, and deeply human. Bodies don't always respond on cue. Emotions fluctuate, and communication is often indirect. When reality falls short of fantasy, it can feel like failure, not just of the moment, but of yourself and your relationship. This sense of failure seeps into your self-esteem. You may begin to doubt your attractiveness, your desirability, your ability to satisfy or be satisfied. These doubts build walls rather than bridges, turning desire into anxiety. And when anxiety replaces curiosity and presence, genuine connection becomes impossible. A partner on the receiving end of these expectations also suffers. Feeling judged against impossible standards breeds insecurity and shame. It diminishes the natural flow of intimacy, making vulnerability a risk rather than a joy. Over time, this dynamic creates distance, not closeness, a silent erosion of the bond that once brought you together. Beyond personal relationships, this distortion impacts emotional health on a broader scale. Sexuality, when lived authentically, is a profound source of joy, healing, and growth. But when it becomes a performance or a measure of worth, it can trigger cycles of shame, isolation, and disconnection. Furthermore, this fantasy-driven desire often sidelines emotional intimacy, the very foundation of lasting connection. Pornography and media emphasize physicality, yet leave out the crucial elements of trust, communication, and mutual respect. The result? A culture of quick fixes and surface-level pleasure, where the deeper hunger for understanding and emotional safety remains unmet. It is important to remember, the problem isn't desire itself. It is the source and shape of that desire. Reclaiming intimacy means learning to listen to your own needs and your partner's, without the interference of fantasy's unrealistic scripts. It means embracing the imperfections of real connection as the very space where true intimacy lives. As you reflect on your own experiences, ask yourself, have these distorted fantasies shaped your expectations? How have they influenced your feelings of connection, satisfaction, or frustration? Recognizing the consequences is painful, but essential, because it opens the door to healing and transformation. In the next chapter, we will explore practical steps to untangle these threads, how to shift from fantasy to reality, and from disconnection back to authentic intimacy. Ready to reclaim your connection? Healing the gap between fantasy and reality is not about rejecting desire or shaming yourself for what you enjoy. It's about cultivating awareness and choosing connection over performance, presence over distraction. Reclaiming intimacy begins with small but profound shifts in mindset and behavior, a journey back to your authentic self and your partner. First, cultivate mindfulness in your sexual experiences. Notice when your thoughts drift toward unrealistic expectations or comparisons. When you catch yourself there, gently bring your attention back to the present moment, to the sensations, emotions, and subtle communication unfolding between you and your partner. Mindfulness helps dismantle the scripts imposed by fantasy, opening space for genuine connection. Second, foster honest communication. Talk openly about desires, boundaries, and fears without judgment or shame. Creating a safe space for vulnerability builds trust and deepens intimacy. When both partners feel heard and seen, it becomes easier to move beyond fantasy-driven performance to shared exploration and mutual pleasure. Third, practice patience and compassion with yourself and your partner. Real intimacy is messy and imperfect. It requires time to understand one another's rhythms and needs. Celebrate small moments of connection, tenderness, and curiosity, rather than chasing an idealized climax or script. Fourth, educate yourself about the impact of pornography and media on sexual expectations. Awareness empowers you to critically evaluate the fantasies you consume and their influence on your mind and relationships. Consider limiting or moderating consumption if you notice it distorting your experience of real intimacy. Fifth, invest in emotional intimacy beyond the bedroom. Shared experiences, conversations, laughter, and support strengthen the foundation for satisfying physical connection. Remember, sex is not just a physical act, it's an expression of trust and emotional safety. Lastly, consider seeking professional support if feelings of disconnection or dissatisfaction persist. Therapists or counselors specializing in sexuality can provide guidance and tools tailored to your unique situation. Reclaiming intimacy is not a one-time fix. It is an ongoing process of self-discovery and relational growth. It invites you to let go of fantasy's grip and embrace the richness of real connection, with all its vulnerabilities and imperfections. Reflect now. What step resonates most with you? Which small change can you make today to move closer to authentic intimacy? The final step in moving past the distortion of fantasies is embracing your authentic sexual self, free from shame, performance, or unrealistic ideals. Authenticity means accepting your desires, your vulnerabilities, and the imperfect, beautiful reality of connection as it is. When you embrace authenticity, you reclaim your power. You stop trying to fit into scripted roles dictated by pornography or cultural myths. Instead, you create your own sexual narrative based on mutual respect, emotional safety, and true desire. This freedom invites deeper satisfaction. Without the pressure to perform to fantasy, sex becomes a joyful exploration, an intimate dance where you and your partner discover each other anew, again and again. It becomes about presence, pleasure, and connection rather than perfection or comparison. Authenticity also fosters resilience. Real intimacy will always have challenges, moments of insecurity, mismatch, or confusion. But when grounded in authenticity, these moments become opportunities for growth and deeper understanding rather than failures. Moreover, embracing authenticity ripples beyond the bedroom. It enriches your overall sense of self-worth and emotional health. You learn to value yourself not for how well you meet external expectations, but for who you truly are. To nurture this authenticity, practice radical honesty with yourself and your partner. Let go of shame and self-judgment. These are barriers, not truths. Celebrate your unique desires and boundaries as valid and meaningful. Approach sex as a shared journey, not a checklist or performance. Allow space for imperfection and vulnerability. They are the heart of true connection. Remember, breaking free from fantasy's grip is not about rejecting imagination or creativity in sexuality. It's about grounding these elements in reality and genuine connection. Take a moment to reflect. How can you step into your authentic sexual self today? What old beliefs or fears are you ready to release to experience freedom and connection? This journey is deeply personal, but universally transformative. By embracing authenticity, you invite love, pleasure, and connection that are real, lasting, and profoundly fulfilling. Thank you for exploring this topic with an open heart and mind.